warp gate's prepared yet.
You need to try and pick off the units as. Look at the shields on the Martins.
Oh my god, the drone's gonna take them.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. This is HD.
And this is Pain User.
And we're both back for the Losers Bracket Round 3 here. We've got a game between BratOK and LaLuSh. And Pain User, my good buddy here, with his great memory, will tell you guys all about this game and how the players got here.
I don't know about all that, but this is Losers Round 3. LaLuSh defeating Axlav in Losers Round 2, BratOK defeating Dark Force. They were both sent to the Losers Bracket. Well, LaLuSh was sent to the Losers Bracket by Select in Winners Round 2, and BratOK was sent to the Losers Bracket in Winners Round 2 by White Raw. So... And the winner will have to play the loser of Thorzane versus Mana. So,
Which is played tomorrow, I believe.
that is your reward for winning in Losers Round 3. You have to play the winner of Thorzane versus Mana. So both these players fighting for that spot. So it's just like a run through the gauntlet here in the Losers Bracket. And I know you always like to call it
The grimy pit of hell.
the grimy pit of hell. And literally, that's what it is right now. We do have LaLuSh spawning as our blue Zerg at the 6 o'clock position, and over at the 9 o'clock, we have BratOK spawning as our red Terran. The map is Terminus, and I think we could be in store for a serious macro game here, especially in TVZ. This map just totally yields to that style.
I know, man. This map is so big. This is one of the
huge.
biggest maps in the GSL as well as in the ladder, I believe, right now. And all the tournament games have this map in there as well. It's so
Hopefully they
big.
add it to the ladder. I
Yeah.
hope they do.
Yeah,
They did add Tal'Darim, which is
That's
awesome.
Tal'Darim. That is true. They
And
added Tal'Darim.
They'll probably add Terminus too. I think it's just a matter of time. Strangely enough, we actually had a reset recently.
Yeah.
It was about 2 weeks ago, but now it's current, and they took out Metalopolis, and they took out Delta.
I'm kind of sad that they took out Metalopolis because it was a great map for Zerg. At the same time, I don't know. I'm kind of
if you got
happy
far
as well.
spawns,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Close
yeah.
spawns is like, whoa.
Well, close spawns in any of those maps, I'm a little claustrophobic. Get out of my face, Terrans and Protoss. By the
Yeah.
way, nice little supply depot blockage right there. Just laying down one initially just to block the scout.
I mean, yeah, you're going to spend those resources anyway, and if you get the supply depot down extra early, you block the gas scout. So right now, LaLuSh is playing in the dark completely. He doesn't know whether he's going to go with a 1-Rax FE. He doesn't know whether he's going to tech up and get a factory, perhaps get some Hellions out. So it makes it more difficult for him to prepare, and if your opponent has to prepare for everything, LaLuSh might spend some extra money that he's not looking to spend.
Not just only that, but the Overlords have a difficult time getting in there to do that little scouting that they usually do. You know, lumber in there and figure out what's going on. The way the map is designed and the way the players have spawned, the Overlords have to basically cross over the trajectory of the natural, and they could encounter some Marines on the way over there. So LaLuSh is really in the dark right now, and he'll have to figure out what the Terran is up to. But you made an interesting point. The winner of this game goes on to play the loser of Thorzane and Mana. I mean, really?
Yep.
That's tough, man. That's a tough pill to swallow because first you got to beat this great opponent, either LaLuSh or BratOK, and then you got to go on to play an even better player. I hesitate to say better, but an even another good player, and I don't know how you survive. It's so stressful in the losers bracket.
I totally agree, and eventually the road gets hard in the winners bracket too. I mean, you can coast your way only so far until you're running into the cream of the crop, and the cream of the crop is virtually every player in this whole tournament. We did have an open qualifier with over 1,000 participants, and I mean, really, we have the best of the best here. They are competing for $50,000. Everyone's bringing their A game, and we've seen that from the sets that we've been casting all tournament long.
Yeah.
And I can't expect anything less from this set. We do have BratOK actually following up his 1-Rax FE here with 2 additional Raxes, and it looks like he's getting a tech lab on one of them in the production tab. So going with this 3-Rax style here, and I can't help but think that he's going to be trying to hit some sort of a timing push in the mid game.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that he added on the 3 Raxes and also got the double gas going, so he's got that stim now researching, and he is adding on a reactor on the barracks in the front. Now, note, he's got that command center, but he hasn't lifted it off yet. He's playing a very conservative game, using it right now as just a macro CC, right? Gonna build up some economy, get that thing rolling, and then maybe he's gonna push out with a significant army and try to do some damage.
Yep, and I think that timing push is just going to be purely bio. He's probably going to get combat shield, stim, several marauders. He's already producing marauders, so that makes me think he's going to get a bunch of marauders and a bunch of marines off of that reactor Drax, and then try and hit some timing window right as stim is about to finish. Now, he's banking on the fact that LaLuSh isn't going to be prepared for this. Hopefully he doesn't have banelings by then.
Yeah, but there's a baneling nest coming up, man.
Yeah, baneling nest is coming up. Speed is done, and we also have 16 lings in production right now. So that's
almost a cold counter to this two base push for coming from the Terran player. I wonder how LaLuSh knew that this was coming.
Well, I mean, he's got to expect that something is up. He continues to scout the front door. He sees the reactor on that Rax. He hasn't seen the expansion yet,
and he hasn't seen a factory.
yet. So in his mind, he's got to be thinking, all right, what's going on here? I'm surprised he actually hasn't sacrificed an overlord yet to get a scout in there.
And when we were talking about this before, the overlords really have a hard time getting their way in there because they got to move around the sides first and then come in. So it takes a while for those overlords to get in there. I think if you look on the mini-map right now, not really an overlord close enough to really sack quite yet. But LaLuSh has quite the creep spread extending from the natural.
He does have great overlord positioning, though, right?
Yeah, he does. He does.
In the event of a drop or something like that, he'll be well prepared. He has great vision around his base. But like you said, he didn't send those overlords into position to be sacrificed. You definitely can. You just need to send your first two overlords around the side and put them in position where they can be sacrificed. Yeah, it takes a little bit longer, but it's 100% worth it, especially when you don't know what your opponent's doing. And now we have BratOK pushing out right now. He's trying to hit this timing window. We do have concussive shells on the way and +1. Combat shields and stim just now finishing. And he is going to head into LaLuSh's base and try and do some push here, but oh my god, he's still on creep.
Yeah, the creep threat, I was referring to this before. The creep threat's so good, and the baneling's able to get in there, taking out all the marines. The lings wrapping around the marines and marauders like a hand of death, and it looks like the marauders now just left alone to fight against lings and blings. Not a situation you want to be in, and that two-base timing push coming from BratOK completely fails miserably. The Zerg player now in complete control of this game.
Yeah, it was shut down 100%, and what a great job by LaLuSh right there. Anytime you shut down a Terran's initial push, it just puts them on the back foot for so long. This is going to allow LaLuSh to quickly take his third, and we see that going up right now, and it's also going to allow him to sit back and drone away, and he can also tech at the same time if he wants, because he's going to have a good, maybe 5 minutes here before BratOK can really do anything. BratOK's going to have to wait for tanks. He's going to have to wait to replenish his marine count. He's going to probably wait until he gets medevacs out, and that's just before he can even push out on the map, let alone do some kind of pressure. And here we see LaLuSh. He's getting that macro hatch up. He's taking his third is almost going to be up here. He's got +1 on the way. Layers done, so he's doing a great job right now capitalizing on this window.
Yeah, and not only that, he's got map control over the Terran player, and it's forcing BratOK into this situation where, hey, I've got one bunker, and hey, might I remind you guys, thank God he had that one bunker, because if he didn't, I think he would have lost the game already. But he had one bunker, and he was like, you know what, I don't know if one's enough. Maybe I should add on a second one. Two's better than one, and he did just that. And the thing about that is, yes, he's got the defense necessary to hold off any attack, Pain User, but he's really playing a super defensive game. He's not going to be able to really do anything, although, since it is Terminus, he can expand at the back, and he can play a macro game on 3 base.
Yeah, dude, when in doubt, add more bunkers. That's my philosophy with Terran.
Yeah.
You can always recycle them later on and get that 75% back. I mean, they do cost something because you're utilizing an SCV for the duration of building the bunker, and then you obviously lose that 25% minerals, and you don't have those minerals available early on when you want them.
And the early minerals are more important than the late minerals.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some downsides to building a bunker, but what's better, losing a couple of resources or losing the game? You should always be prepared, and I love the fact that he dropped that second bunker just to be sure in the fact that he wasn't going to lose to some kind of baneling bust there or a quick counterattack.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
We already have BratOK moving out to the Xel'Naga here, pushing very early on in this game. He only has 2 tanks and a handful of marines. I think LaLuSh actually has enough to crush this right now, but he's not going to do it.
I feel like the really risky situation here is, the lings are going to come in and they may be able to pop that tank. Yes, they get it. Great exchange, and losing just a few lings for a tank. I think BratOK here is getting a little bold and boisterous with this tank push, man. I mean, look at it. He can get surrounded and flanked from the top because his tanks are exposed from the backside. There's only one tank, really. I don't even know why I'm using the plural form when there's only a single tank.
Getting
and
boisterous.
Getting boisterous. And here comes that Infestor launching a money fungal growth. And those
Beautiful
Marines have
fungal.
no HP. And a Baneling runs in and blows up everything.
A second fungal followed by the Baneling kills all the Marines. Boisterous. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. little Princess Bride?
Princess Bride.
I know you haven't seen it.
I know.
But it's a hilarious movie. I'm gonna stop using movie quotes because you're never gonna get them.
Well, I'll get the ones like Starship Troopers, Star Wars, and that's about it, man.
Dude. Those are both great ones, though, especially in relation to StarCraft, because there's so many similarities between those movies. I mean, Starship Troopers is like Terran versus Zerg in cinema.
Yeah.
Especially when you get into a crazy macro game where tons of stuff is exploding.
I still remember seeing that movie the very first time. I was like 12 years old. I was like, oh my god, this is the greatest movie ever. And then Brood War came out. I think it was right after that. And I was like, oh my god, it's Starship Troopers, the movie.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Hey.
I mean, the game, essentially. Brood War is like Starship Troopers, the game, in TVZ. But then you've got the Protoss element. And they never really managed to work that into the movie.
Did you know there's a Starship Troopers 2?
I know, I've seen it.
It's
so
horrible.
bad.
It's so bad.
It's funny though.
It's like a haunted.
It's so bad.
It's so bad that it's funny. Yeah.
Right.
You'd think you would see the Protoss and Starship Troopers too, but not really. Hey, nice little defense of the drop here.
We have another drop going off at the third, but that's not really going to be able to accomplish anything as LaLuSh's forces are skating back on the creep right now, heading over there to ward that off. And they will be able to do so. It looks like BratOK is using this opportunity to try and push across mid here, and LaLuSh is letting him all the way into the natural, so he's going to be able to get a very good tank position over here outside of LaLuSh's natural.
Wow, what a bold push by BratOK, bold and boisterous. He's really doesn't have that many tanks, and yet he's still pushing off very close to the creep node. He is staying the tanks off the creep until he's able to pop those tumors. He's got the little cancer-killing squad out right now. But now that the creep has started to recede, he is pushing forward, and I feel like this is really bold, but it can pay off huge if he gets next to the hatchery. However, it looks like the Zerg player get a counter with a lot of roaches and infestors, but enough tanks in the background to push that roach infestor army back.
Yep, he will be able to push that back. The roach is now scurrying in on accident there. One of them is just going to get blown to smithereens. And now we have infestors joining the mix, and he's really starting to get those infestor numbers up. He's at 4 right now, and oh my god, we have such an early Greater Spire here out of LaLuSh. We're at the 17-minute mark, and he has the Greater Spire on the way. And now if he can delay long enough and keep his 4th up to get those Broodlords out, he might be able to stave off this push, and he will be in a great situation.
It's still a way to go, man.
I know.
That Broodlord Greater Spire is about a minute away from finishing.
And then the
with
Broodlord's on top of that to morph in.
Yeah, it's like another maybe 2 minutes. And BratOK, though, he is taking his sweet time to push, so maybe LaLuSh will have enough time to get the Broodlords out. Especially, BratOK should have even more time, especially if he continues to do these drops, because it's distracting LaLuSh right now. It's forcing LaLuSh to spend APM at defending, and you know, this tank push, it's getting to become quite the annoyance. It's become like a dagger in the side of his body.
Yeah, absolutely. And the tank's really getting into good position now. They're working their way up on the 4th. He has control over the Xel'Naga on the right. But like you said, he's taking his sweet time. He might need to press the issue here. He is starting to work on that hatchery. It's already in the deep orange. That tank in the front is working on it, but I think that BratOK is in a situation here where he could move his tanks up much more rapidly. I mean, the longer he waits here, and now we have the Broodlords morphing in. There are 4 on the way.
Yeah.
And if these Broodlords finish, LaLuSh is going to have a window of opportunity here to clean up this whole push, and he continues to kill the Marines with fungals, and that's so important. He's going to need those Marines to take out those Broodlords, and he just doesn't have any right now. So it's going to be like all tanks versus Broodlords here.
Yeah, and I love how LaLuSh is playing this out. He's playing a very patient, waiting game with his forces. He's not overreacting. He's waiting for the Broodlords to come out. It's cold, it's calculated, it's concise. CCC, and he is going to be able to move in and do so much damage. There comes the Broodlords. There comes the Lings, and he's going to be able to clean up the entire army. I would imagine the Broodlords able to take out all the tanks, and a beautiful hold by LaLuSh.
Yeah, great hold right there from LaLuSh. Just waiting, and oh my god, the hash tree gets down into the deep, deep red right there, just under 200, and now the Broodlords are cleaning up the remainder of these tanks and forcing the tank line to be pushed all the way back. We still haven't seen BratOK unsiege his tanks yet, and right now they're continuing to shell away at some of these ground units, and we might have these Marines pick off. No! A beautiful fungal right there from LaLuSh is going to kill all those
Triple
Marines.
fungal across
And
the
the
rainbow.
medevacs.
Great
my
job by LaLuSh. Man, he is playing so smart. Do you notice how he's keeping these infestors back? He's never all in committing. In most Terran versus Zerg battles, and in mere seconds, it's just a big all-out battle. The Zerg runs in there and he tries to end the battle right then and there. But LaLuSh is playing, once I reiterate, CCC, cold, calculated, concise. He's very slow and methodical about the way he's attacking, and he's keeping his infestors alive, and that's probably the most important thing to take away from these battles.
Yeah, as long as he keeps these infestors alive and continues to build on that fungal energy and continues to get these epic fungals. I mean, he's killing packs of 8 to 10 Marines every time, and he's getting the medevacs on top of that. So just such beautiful fungal play from LaLuSh right now. And he also has this 5th and 6th expansion going up on the right-hand side of the map. He's adding spine crawlers. We have 4 going up over at that expansion on the right-hand side, so he's going to be able to defend that drop quite easily. And at the same time, he's also pushing at the 4th right now, and keep in mind, BratOK cannot siege these tanks or they will just blast away at all of his units, and he's got to wait on these Vikings for reinforcements. He's only producing them 2 at a time right now. He does have those 2 extra starports on the way, so he will be producing them 4 at a time, but he needs that right now.
Yeah, he needs his Vikings ASAP. He may want to add on a couple more starports here. LaLuSh getting really feisty with his forces. Once again, using great fungal growth. And look at that spawn of broodlings and lings. They're like side by side and just pack, killing off Marines, man. And it doesn't help that the tanks are in the background. They have the ability to, shell the broodlings and lings, but they also means that they're going to be doing friendly fire damage to the Marines as well. So it's really kind of a strange situation for BratOK. He needs Vikings so bad, and we can see he's adding on 2 starports right now to help with that Viking production.
Absolutely, and it looks like these Broodlords might get caught out in the midfield here. LaLuSh intelligently canceling those.
That was close.
HD going into sexual mode.
Hey man, if those Broodlords had gone down, that would have been a big blow.
But they didn't get taken out, and I feel you. You've got that extra love for your Zerg brethren. You guys have that hive mind connection that cannot be severed. I feel much the same about Terran players.
You guys have a hive mind connection too?
Well, no, we just have that
adjutant.
With the adjutant, we have that humanoid connection, that base level respect that all humans have, and it hurts to see your fellow brethren die in battle.
But Terrans
and we
aren't
have
humans.
seen so many Marines go down in this game, and what a push we have coming now from BratOK. But it's almost all Broodlords versus almost all tanks. I think he's got the wrong unit for the job here. His tank numbers are way too high. Both players are relatively max, and these siege tanks aren't really going to help out that much other than to shell his own Marines, and we have a fungal going off here on a ton of Marines. LaLuSh engaging with everything.
Beautiful fungals coming out from LaLuSh, and his banelings rolling in, destroying packs of Marines, 2 at a time, 5 at a time, 10 at a time. It looks like there's only a couple Marines left, and it's not enough anti-air for BratOK, so BratOK has to fall back. He has to pull away. And a beautiful hold by LaLuSh here. LaLuSh forces all the tanks to unsiege Pain User, and LaLuSh right now is just in a great position. I mean, he just held off all those Marines, and he just did so much damage.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And now pumping Vikings 4 at a time. This is really going to help him try and win that air battle, which is so important right now. If BratOK wants to get back into this and take control of this game, he's got to win this air battle. He has to take air supremacy, and I think 2 things that would really help him right now would be a Thor, just to hit those Corruptors while the Corruptor Viking back and forth battle is going on, just to take pod shots, and then also Ghosts.
Oh, yes.
Ghosts would make such a big difference in this game, and I feel like we're going to see a lot more Ghosts out of BratOK once he
Once he
evolves
watches
his
the replay
TVZ.
of this game.
Well, yeah, in the beginning portion of the game, he'll see that Ghosts could have made such a big difference here if he was EMPing these infestors and denying their use, and then you can also use Snipe to help take down those Broodlords and to take out the infestors. They're just so versatile late game, and I think we're going to see those out of BratOK and out of Terran players in the future in TVZ.
I absolutely agree with you. I think the Ghost right now is the unit that could really bolster the Terran army against the Zerg's composition.
So underutilized,
man. It's really used more in TVP, but not enough in TVZ.
I agree.
Yeah. So watching this game right now, you'd think, hey, what's the unit that can help? I think it's the Ghost. And we do have a big engagement here once again. And look at that very smart, patient waiting game that LaLuSh is playing. He only brings the infestors in when necessary. He doesn't overexpose them to combat damage. He's bringing them in to launch a fungal, and he pulls back. His Broodlord's getting the maximum efficiency here. It looks like there was a little bit of a drop over to the north side, but that is going to be taken care of relatively easily. And now the Broodlords are free to shell away against the tanks.
And that they will. They continue to hit those tanks with the Broodlings. Tanks going down left and right, as are the Marines. Fungals getting dropped on the Marines.
No.
Vikings are starting to work on these Broodlords, but it's not going to be enough. The Corruptors are going to eat their way through here, and now we have some reinforcement Marines coming in. They will be able to pick off one Broodlord, but Fungal getting dropped on them immediately, and that is the story of this game, and it brings me back to my point about the Ghosts. BratOK needs to do something about these infestors, and he needs to do it now. He continues to lose all of his Marines to fungal growth. The Broodlords are there just to clean up the mess, and man, LaLuSh is getting so cost efficient with his army throughout the game.
I think BratOK's Marines have nightmares about fungal growth. They go to sleep and they can't stand it. They just see fungals in their dream.
It's like he has a fungal virus just spreading through the ranks of his army. What's he gonna do about it?
I don't know,
He's
man.
a disinfectant crew or something. Ghosts,
medics.
man. Ghosts.
Medics.
Medics, drop out of the medevac and heal your units.
Did you know it's a medic driving the medevac?
I did not.
Well, if you look
I have
at
noticed
the,
the picture. Yeah, it is a
like
female
medic.
pilot.
Yeah. Well, the Terran army could definitely use something to deal with the constant viral fungals that are going off right now. It's really quite nasty how many Marines have gone down to packs of fungal growth so far. We may see yet another fungal growth right there from the Zerg. No, he decides to wait it out. Banelings will be exposed for just a few moments here. And this game, guys, is getting really out of hand. Look at the map. It's how many bases each player has, and neither player able to really fully push the other player all the way back to the other side. It's been just a constant war at the center of Terminus, and even missile turrets now going up for BratOK as he realizes, hey, I need more anti-air, I need more forces, and turrets are a cheap way to get that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing to note is that BratOK hasn't been able to make anything happen on the offensive end of this game other than that one push on the 4th, which was denied by LaLuSh. Since then, LaLuSh has been bringing all of the hurt to BratOK. BratOK's been playing a very defensive style with his siege tanks and trying to hold off with those Vikings, but he can't play this forever. He's gonna have to make a move at some point here, or he's gonna have to win one of these major engagements in order to really get himself back in this game. He has to control those expansions on the far side of the map as well. Maybe a double drop in order to get those spine crawlers down. These single drops just aren't cutting it when there's 4 spine crawlers down and in the mix at every expansion. So he really just hasn't found a window of opportunity or a way to deal any kind of serious damage now. And here we see him getting sieged out again by these Broodlords, sieging the siege tanks, if you will, and a huge fungal goes off on the Vikings.
Beautiful fungal. Now the Corruptors have free reign to take out those Vikings, no problemo at all. And look at those Broodlords in the back, man, continuing to launch their Broodlings, hurtling down at the Marines and tanks below, and they're just all getting evaporated. The tank line was devastated. The Marines had to fall back, and LaLuSh in great control of middle, but he loses a hatchery out to the extremity, out of that expansion. Kind of a bad loss right there. I think this hatchery will be safe thanks to the spines, but throughout that battle, BratOK was able to pick off a hatchery, so not bad.
Yeah, I mean, he did just get the hatchery above that up and running, though, so he's going to have that 7th base, and he can just port the drones over there, Maynard over there, and start mining right away. He will have that high-yield gas as well, so not the worst situation for him. He's probably just going to take that Expo immediately and get it going again, but yes, he did kill the hatchery. He did take down one of the Expos.
Wow.
I mean, God. Throughout this whole game, it just continues. The fungals are getting so cost effective. All the Marines continuously just getting fungled and cleaned up by a couple Lings, a second fungal, a few shots from a Broodlord, take out a bunch of Marines. I mean, you couldn't ask for more cost-effective engagements from LaLuSh here, and I think that's really what's going to allow him to get way ahead in this late game. He's already ahead, but he's just getting way ahead at this point. He's getting so cost-efficient in all these fights.
Yeah, these fungals are doing so much damage. We may have another big engagement here as BratOK preparing, but he gets all of his Vikings fungled once again. This is horrible to watch, and look at those infestors in the background just peeking out to launch fungal when necessary and staying in the background. Once again, LaLuSh showing us a very patient style of ZVT, and he finally, he's baiting them out, and when the Marines come to deal with the Broodlords, here come the Banelings, the fungal growth, beautifully played by LaLuSh, and he breaks that tank line in the middle with all of his Broodlords alive.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. He's doing an excellent job playing a very patient style of game here, and he's going to continue to walk on to BratOK's fourth here. Or he might be pulling back, actually. He's lost all of his Corruptors, and these Vikings are going to be able to probably ward off the remainder of the Broodlords, but LaLuSh's army is just far superior at this point. He's been able to deny BratOK's 5th and 6th repeatedly. He's just having such a difficult time taking those Expos on the north side of the map. And LaLuSh now looks to be taking offensive hatcheries here. He's expanded to the middle of the map. This is the last available expansion for him. He's probably going to lose that.
Yeah.
But once he brings his army back together, he reconvenes and launches his next push with all the infestors, and now he's adding Lings and Broodlings and more Corruptors. I just think it's going to be too much for BratOK to hold off. He's lost all of his tanks, he's lost all of his Vikings, and I just really don't see him holding off this next push. It's going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah, and despite LaLuSh losing that offensive hatch, as you called it, it's really no loss at all. If anything, the hatchery was more like a proxy pylon, the Zerg style, to prevent a command center from going down. So really well played by LaLuSh. Doesn't matter that he lost a hatch, and he's going to even be able to kill off a free dropship as well. That goes down.
That poor Marine got dropped at the end. The dropship just like, man, you got to jump. We're going down. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. You can't take me down. I'm not getting out. Just gets kicked out the back of the medevac.
And he looks down below. He's like, hey, man, there's a lot of Banelings down there. I don't know if I want to jump out. We're going down. He gets kicked out.
Instantly gets clobbered by the Banelings. I bet they were just sitting down there licking their little Baneling lips, waiting for the Marines to jump out. Whatever they have, their little orifices or whatever they have.
They have an orifice, I'll give you that.
And now the Vikings get picked off again before the battle even happens. 2 Vikings going down, and BratOK just has this small band of Marines right now. He has none of those high gas units.
Rico's Roughnecks.
Yeah, Rico's Roughnecks, if you will.
What we're seeing right now is the opening episode, the opening section of Starship Troopers, where all those Marines go down, and they're going out to fight on, what was that planet? I forget what it was called, and there's just absolutely way too many Zerg units for them to handle. Look at this. Look at this. Look at that, man. All the Marines going down. A desperation push by BratOK, and he calls the GG. Absolutely nothing he could do about that, man.
Just an amazing game from LaLuSh from start to finish. He just played so well, and he played a very patient style and was able to win all of the major engagements just with such ease. I don't think he lost a single major engagement from start to finish in that entire game. He was getting very cost effective. Yes, he did drop a couple hatcheries, but it was to very desperate counter pushes from BratOK in the late game, and he was able to take that game pretty convincingly.
Yeah.
And he will go up 1-0 in this series between him and BratOK.
Yeah, and it's not over yet, guys. Remember, this is the losers bracket, so pressure is on BratOK. If he doesn't perform, he is knocked out of the IPL. LaLuSh has one small victory here at this long, deep, dark hallway. He needs to win the next game, but even if he wins that, man, he's got to play the loser of Thorazane Mana. It's a tough road here in the grimy pit of hell. Don't go anywhere, because Game 2 is coming up next.